Give us your honest opinion.
You want me to be very raw?
If your husband should say that, babe, I think I'm ready for the US now, you would go back.
Oh, I would pack my bag. If you say what I'm making in 2023 now in the UK is what I made in 2009 as a tech.
Stop that. So, guys, this is really strange. You know how people in the UK or nurses in the UK are struggling to pass the NCLEX to go to the US. And this lady here, she left the US, the land of opportunities, to the UK. I'm not saying the UK is bad.
Okay, please.
I'm not saying the UK is bad, but like, so a friend of mine works with Chichi, and then she was telling me that, oh, there's a lady from the US who's working with us now, and then, you know, like, it's strange, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, how? So would she be happy that I interview her? So I tried hard, and she has granted us this opportunity. Chichi, why did you leave the US?
Well, my name is Chinyere. My full name is Chinyere, but I go by Chichi. Well, I started off as a tech. I worked as a tech in the US for over the whole time I was in nursing school. I worked with different hospitals, and then I decided to go to nursing school. At the time I was single. You know, it's definitely nursing is a hot cake in the US because there's a lot of opportunities to grow. It's a rewarding career, and it's easier than going into medical school because I wanted to go to medical school, and I figured, okay, you know, it's closer, it's the closest thing to medicine, and it's much easier, and you don't have to, you know, acquire so much student loan at the same time. And I honestly never had UK in my mind. Not even, you know, in my near future, never had UK. So UK was something that just came in the picture when I got married. You know, when you get married, you make a lot of, you know, choices. So UK has always been my husband's. You know, he loves the UK. He loves the system. He loves the school. So when we got married, I was in the US, and he never liked the US, never liked the system. And then the police brutality and, you know, the killing, but he gave it a chance, and he came, and, you know, we stayed there for 5 years together. He still didn't like it, even though I tried to convince him, and, you know, it wasn't a place he wanted to raise his children. And then while he was in the US, the George Floyd's, you know, incident happened, so that even made it worse. So every time I try, something always comes. Always getting shot, you know. So he was like, this is what I'm telling you. I don't want to raise my kids here, you know, stuff like that. So, and then he also got an opportunity to do his PhD in the UK. So that also made it possible for us to come to the UK.
Can I ask if your husband is a nurse as well?
No. He's a lawyer into human rights, and most of his opportunities are in African countries. And you can see the UK is very, very close to Africa, so it's much easier for him to get job opportunities if he's based in the UK. It's just much easier compared to the US.
Your husband born in the US, or no, he was in the UK the whole time?
No, he's actually born in Nigeria.
Okay.
He's actually born in Nigeria, but he's done a couple of studies here in the UK. And I think that's when he fell in love with the UK, while he was here doing his studies. So he had stuff to compare to. I didn't. He's lived in so many countries, schooled in the UK, and also worked in the United Nations in New York. Wow. So he's been to different countries, and he can compare the difference, you know. But all I know is the US and Nigeria. So I didn't have, you know, I couldn't tell him, oh, I don't want to stay in the UK because I don't know what it's like. So I have to try it, you know. So that's where we are, right? And that's why we're here.
Wow. Let me be a bit inquisitive. So when you guys started talking, was he in the UK or he was in the UAE? Did you meet him in the US?
So no, he was, at the time he was in South Africa, and the plan is either I move to South Africa or he moves to the US. And at the time I was looking at, like, career wise, for me, South Africa wasn't an option at all. I didn't want to be a stay-at-home mom. I still wanted to, you know, work and further my career. When I did my research, it wasn't working for me. So he decided, okay, he's going to move to the US and give it a try. And that's what he did. And he did try for 5 years. and it still wasn't convincing.
So how long have you been in the UK?
So far, I've been in the UK since September last year, 2022. So it's been seven months or 8 months, something like that. Yeah.
Give us your honest opinion. What do you
I
think
will.
about
You want me as you want me to be very raw? Sure, I'll keep it raw. Honest opinion in terms of like nursing or just living right now?
living and then nursing?
Okay. So I would just speak for myself and comparing where I lived in the US, comparing it to where I am right now. I lived in New York. As you know, New York is a city. For me personally, like I have a 5-year-old and now I have a 4-month-old. I felt like my children, I didn't give them the upbringing I wanted to give them because it was a city life. New York is great. It's expensive, great for if you're single, or you're just starting off, like your relationship, you just newly got married. But when you start bringing children in the picture, it's very expensive. I felt like everything I wanted to do for my kids, it just cost a lot. Comparing that now with where I am in the UK, I feel like the UK gives you that opportunity to raise your children the way you want to raise them, and it's not so expensive. In terms of, I'll give an example. In terms of like school in New York, my son was in the private school. It was really expensive, and I feel like in the UK, giving him the same quality of education, even better. It's not, you don't pay anything. It's free, and then he gets to do so much activities. In the US, I had him in swimming class. He's in the football club. He's doing piano lessons and all that. And in the US, if I calculate all that, I know how much it's going to, like, I don't care how much you're making. When those money start leaving your bank accounts, it kind of, it's expensive. So here, it's very cheap. It's not so expensive. So they get the quality of life that you want them to have with not paying so much. At the end of the day, you don't want to, spend so much money just raising them. And then when they get older, you don't have enough to say, okay, this is what I have left for you to start off your life with. That's something that, is to keep in mind in terms of you make so much money, but yet you'll be spending that money,
What about nursing? Mm-hmm.
So nursing, in New York, comparing to what I've experienced, I haven't worked in other trusts, and I wouldn't mention the name of trust, but I haven't worked in any trust yet. But with the trust I am right now, I felt like in terms of nursing, they've made nursing in the US where I work, they made nursing very easy. It's easy. It's easy to do your job. It's easy to provide the care for your patients because you have the resources you need to make work very easy. And nursing itself is already very stressful. And for you not to have the resources you need to provide the care for your patients makes it even 10 times much harder, So I feel like I feel like at the end of work for me here, I leave burnt out. I think it's the necessity that you need. I think in 2023, these things should be made easier.
When you say resources, what kind of resources are you talking about? Are you talking about
resources in terms of communications with the doctors? If something is wrong with your patient, you want to reach your doctor very easy. So where I worked before, it's so much easy because they have a system in place where you don't have to run. Look, you don't have to leave your patient and run looking for the doctor. Like, it's so easy because they have secure chats where you can just type a message and you get a response in seconds because they're constantly on the computer. So you get a response. They don't even have to run to you if it's something they can order right now. They just put in the order, So these little things make it easier. nursing is so hard that like these little things that you run around. Oh, I have to go and get a wheelchair for my patient. Or I have to contact the doctor. Or I have to call the blood bank. Or I have to go. These little things. The system in the US have made it so easy for nurses that this extra time that you have to do these things, it's like shortened, and you don't leave work so burnt out, and you actually have that extra time to provide more care for your patient, so they get more quality. But now it's like you have the extra time you have, you're running around, so for me, it's I think that's the difference. And I don't even want to go to the pay.
Okay.
So the UK get paid on the 27th, which when I started working, I'm used to getting paid every 2 weeks, right? So they tell me, oh, you're gonna get paid once a month. I said, once a month? Like, no, like I need my money like now, like So that's a huge adjustment. Living a system where you get paid every 2 weeks, and sometimes you want to buy things and you're like, okay, well, I can buy it now because in 2 weeks I get paid again, right? So especially if you're not working for agency, I know here they say agencies you get paid weekly, but if you're like solely depending on a trust and you're getting paid and you're a permanent staff, a full-time staff, and you get paid every month. I just got paid today, and I was looking at my paycheck. I was literally like telling my husband, what I'm making now is what I made in 2009. So
what you're making in 2023.
What I'm making in 2023 now in the UK is what I made in 2009 as a tech. Babe, I told her I'm going backwards in life. Like I'm supposed to be like at the peak of my career where I should be even making, like I can compare to like, my friends in the US, most of them usually like in the US when when you're done with nursing school, you graduate, you just want to join an organization where you're full-time and you get the experience before you join agencies. So now most of my colleagues that I went to nursing school with are working as an agency. I probably nurse practitioners now. Like they've gone back to school and they're nurse practitioners now. And the ones that are not are pretty much working agencies and making at least $150,000 to $200,000 a year, right? So it is a shocker for me.
And half of it. Wow.
I mean, apart from the the quality of life that I'm giving for my kids, it's something that I'm compromising. The pay is something I'm compromising to give them that. And then also, I think that the good thing about the UK system is that I noticed that we get 27 days of vacation leave, annual leave a year. In the US, we get 14 days.
Like 2
you
weeks.
get 14, 2 weeks, and that's it.
Yeah.
So you work 3 days, and then you have like 4 days off, and then you add the next week. So to give you a longer, So that's how we've been getting by in terms of the annual leave. You get 14 days. So that's how you can get more, but generally you get 14 days. And then in the UK, I noticed also that the system, when you work, you have sick leave. They can give you up to a month. In the US, you don't have that. You have FMLA. They give you short-term disability where, like, if you're pregnant, if you injure yourself, the company is not going to pay you. It's like they've outsourced their short-term disability to a company. So they take it out of your paycheck, so that when you get in that position, they give you the short-term disability. Yeah. So that's how they've designed their system. And then also maternity leave is luxury here. You get a year, right? You get a whole year of maternity leave. In the US, you don't have that. You don't have in 16 weeks, you have to come back.
Wow.
And they max out your leave. So let's say you have the 14 days of leave, You max that out, and then the company they've outsourced now will pay you
Okay.
for maternity, and they don't give you 100%. You get like I think 80%.
Okay. So,
So
would
that
it be fair to say that if not for marriage, you would not have come to the UK, and if not for marriage, or if your husband should say that, babe, I think I'm ready for the US now, you would go back.
oh, I would pack my bag. If he says we are moving back to the US tomorrow, I would definitely pack my. I might not go back to New York because I just feel like it's a different life here, and I noticed that people are not. It's not luxurious, you know. People are not living. You don't have that extra money.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have that extra money to do extra things that you would love to do. You only have you only make enough. You can have designed a system in a way that you make enough to be able to just be comfortable. There's no extra, you know. Whereby in the US, you have that luxury. You have that luxury of being comfortable and having extra. And then one thing I also noticed is that in the UK, you work your regular shift, but then if you want extra shift, you have to either book for a bank shift. Because I was like, there's nothing like overtime. Like they don't give you overtime pay.
Okay, well, it depends. I work for a private company, so there is overtime pay.
Okay, you work for a private. Okay, so that's where the trust, like the working in a trust. You just, if you want extra shift, you book for bank, right?
Yeah.
But in the US, after you're 37.5 and you can work overtime and you get paid overtime. You get paid time and a half. So that's good, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm not even talking about, this is just working for a hospital in the US. Now, if you go to agencies, of course, you make a lot more.
I think that they make up for that because the bank rate is slightly higher than the basic rates of your 37.5. So I think that's where they make it up. That's where they make it up. So you remember you said that with the UK, the cost of living is much lower. But in the US, it was much higher. Let me ask you this. Do you think that after paying all the bills, the relatively affordable bills in the UK, you get to save more in the US, or you don't? Do you understand? Because people are really concerned about, at the end of the day, how much do I have left to save? Because if you are saying that, let's say New York was quite expensive and you were earning more, and with that, you were using 90% of your salary for bills and stuff, and the UK is relatively affordable, and you are using, let's say, only 40% of your money in the UK to pay. But at the end of the day, it might seem that you don't get much in the UK, but maybe you're able to save more. Do you think that's true? What is it for you?
For me, like I said, this is my first paycheck, so I feel like in the UK, you make enough. Like I haven't worked for an agency, so I don't know. My experience might be different when I join an agency and I start making a little bit more money, or maybe if I pick up an overtime, I'll see a little difference, maybe. But where I am right now, I wouldn't be picking up any overtime because I have little ones that I have to care for, and I probably won't be joining an agency either. So I'm only going to be comparing my salary now and what it's done for me compared to because when I was in the US, I wasn't even working overtime at all. I only did my 37 and that was it. So with that said, I find that UK system, in the US, I feel like you can still pay your bills and still have more money in the bank.
Okay, than the UK. Okay.
Than the UK. So, you know, I still prefer the US in so many ways because I feel like the things that are eye-catching in the US, in the UK, like the maternity leave, like the
sick leave,
annual leave, these are things that you could, if you decide you want, if you decide you want to have longer annual leave, you can work for an agency and still work. You know, you can work the days you want and be off for a whole month and still have that 1 month annual leave if you would like. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I still prefer the US system compared to the UK in so many ways, you know.
Wow.
And that's my take, you know. Prior to moving here, I also I'm a kind of person that kind of asks questions. So I joined this group on Facebook. We have a group called American Nurses in the UK. And when I'm in that group, I feel like I'm in a safe space to share. We all share our experiences. We all share our journey, the process it takes us to move from the UK to the from the US to the UK. So you'll be surprised what you're going through. People have gone through it, and it makes your life easy because they've gone through it. They give you an insight of what you need to do to make it easy for yourself. So, and I know that when I'm in the group, I read some of these comments and some of these posts, and I see that many people have different views of how they see the UK. Some people love it. Some people, some people still are struggling. And then some people say, oh, I love it here. There's less shooting. My kids are safe. I don't have to worry about, shooting in schools. And so people have, I guess it depends on your,
This video is proudly sponsored by Lemonade Finance. So Lemonade Finance is a money transfer app that allows you to send money from the UK, Canada, or the US to 10 different African countries at no transfer charge. Their rates are the best so far, like really, 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 really. So you can send money from the UK, Canada, and the US to countries like Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, Cameroon, Senegal, Ivory Coast at no transfer charge. Use the link in the description to download Lemonade Finance, whether you use an iPhone or whether you use an Android phone, and send money now. When you use the referral code Nanelle, you get 10% of the money you're transferring back into your account. So if you use Nanelle and you send £100, you get £10 back. If you use Nanelle and you send £200, you get £20 back, but it's capped at £50. They are very, very reliable, and the money goes instantly, like that moment, like that moment. Okay, so thank you so much, Lemonade Finance, for sponsoring today's video. What would be your advice? I know you said this, but if you were to sum up, what would you advise for somebody who's struggling choosing between the UK and the US? Like your final words for such a person?
I think I would be biased if I answer that question. I'm very biased because the only reason why I would be is because I was born in the US, but I grew up in Nigeria. So US is pretty much home for me. Most of my friends are there. My family are there.
Sorry to catch you, but do you think that if you had moved to London, which is more of our New York, do you think you'd have been much comfortable?
I probably will be. I don't know. I heard that the London is actually quite expensive as well, right?
Yeah, and they have that fast life where you see people using luxurious cars, and compared to the other parts of UK where life is so simple.
Life is subtle. Life is very subtle and quiet, and it's mellow, which is good. It's good, it's good for family life. It's very good for family life, but can be boring for a single person, or I don't know. I think it depends. It depends on the pay as well. I don't know the nurses in London, how much they're making. I know that in the group, there's a couple of nurses that are from the US that are working in London, and they love it. They love it in London. But I don't know. So I won't be able to, compare, because I don't know how much they're making there. But regardless, I think it's like £30,000 a year, I believe.
Yeah, around that, for band.
It's not going to be more than 35, right?
For band 5, no, I don't think so.
Exactly. So it's like, in the US, as a new grad, you could make at least 85. And this is a public hospital. This is not even a private hospital. For a public hospital, you can make the list you can make is $85,000 a year. Yeah. So private hospitals pay a little bit more. You can make at least $90,000 a year to $95,000 a year for a new grad going into a private hospital. So you can compare $95,000 a year to £35,000, right?
That's sad, isn't it?
It's very sad, and this is not overtime. This is just your base pay.
Yeah.
So now, if you decide you want to do overtime or work for an agency, that's
higher.
that's even higher. So
Today you have really made those that are thinking of moving to the US very, very happy. It's like you've confirmed, I
yeah,
thought it was
no, I think the things that people are worried about is something that you can actually make provisions to get those benefits.
except the gun laws and then
Yeah, the
the
step, yes. I think
and
that's something, yes, and that's one of the reasons why my husband didn't want to raise his children in the
yeah,
US, is because of the gun violence, which is such a it's a big deal. It's a big deal. And he's had quite an experience also himself that traumatized him,
okay.
to the point that he just didn't feel like, raising his children there, it's a good choice. So I think that's also something to think about, if you, yeah.
Thank you so much, Chichi.
You're welcome.
I'm so happy that you granted us this opportunity. Thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you.